Hello, we are back. We are live in the Just Be Well group, and we're here talking about COVID. If you're looking for the latest grim statistics, this is not the place. Those, frankly, are not helpful. I would advise you to avoid those, other than to keep in the forefront of your mind that what we're doing is important. We don't have a vaccine, we don't have a medication. All of the hype about, maybe this medicine's going to work, maybe that medicine's going to work. In this day of information, we're hearing a lot of things, but we don't have the science yet. So I don't think it's worth focusing on those things either. There are a few things that we should be focusing on. What are some of those things?
Relaxation and rest, sleep, nutrition, stress management, which kind of goes in with that relaxation and rest, but hi Jane, but I really feel like the stress management piece is something that that we all need in our everyday lives anyway, and right now we're almost being forced to do that. So we're really being forced to maybe bring in some new practices of how we manage and deal with stress.
Integrity is what we do when no one's looking. And right now, what are you doing to maintain your sanity? What are you doing to maintain your sense of well-being, maintain a sense of reality in the face of danger? I think our deepest personality comes out with stress. And the real question is, can we be mindful and thoughtful during this time of concern?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some techniques that you think might be helpful?
One I think is just the breathing. Take time to, especially when you feel yourself getting worked up about anything. We're talking a lot about COVID-19 right now because obviously in our lives that is on the forefront. That is the thing that we are dealing with right now acutely. But really just anytime you feel overworked or stressed in your life, I think breathing is a really great way to center you, because really if you're concentrating on your breath and you're counting with your breaths, and what I like to do is I like to count upwards to 5 with my inhale, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then as I hold it for a moment and I exhale, I like to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just to kind of switch that in your brain. And when you do that, you can't think about anything else. And not only that, but you're doing a nice controlled breath. So I think that combination right there is something you can do anywhere. It's very effective. It's even effective between stimulus and response. So if you're talking to somebody and maybe you're starting to get a little heated about something, or your kids aren't listening, you can take those 10 seconds and change how you react to something.
So you sent me something the other day that said, second day of homeschooling, one child is already expelled and the other one's something. I forgot what it said, but
I can't remember.
I mean, it's pretty easy to get really upset pretty quickly. It happens around here. Certainly, I had a major explosion the other day. But we also there's that moment, there's stimulus and response. And if you're an earthworm, they're the same thing. Mm-hmm. But in a human, we're really the only animals with significant amounts of consciousness. And we can take that moment between stimulus and response and we can exercise control. Mm-hmm. And we can choose a response. One of the basic ideas of meditation is, can people make you mad? Has anybody ever made you mad?
Well, my thoughts about what they're saying make me angry.
Right. They didn't make you angry. You chose to become angry. And sometimes the choice happens that fast, right? Mm-hmm. The gap between stimulus and response.
Because why wouldn't you be angry? There's certain instances where it's a normal response, but we still have the ability to pause.
Yeah, we have the ability to pause. I didn't pause the other day. I got really angry.
And I think, we're all probably at a heightened level of stress and anxiety. So, like, even I was messaging a client today, and, I think that, they're at a higher level of stress and anxiety, so they're on the defense. So maybe something simple you say to them over a message might be taken the wrong way. And same thing with just being in the presence of someone else. We're kind of a little bit more on edge. So it's going to be a little bit less before we have that moment where we feel like we want to explode.
So breath I think is a really important aspect. The other is just being mindful, being present and being present with yourself, so that when you feel those emotions welling up, trying to understand what the emotion is. Anger. Fundamentally, anger is almost always fear. And why do we become fearful? Usually it's because we really care. So if we're feeling anger welling up, let's try to get underneath the anger to what is the anger about? Well, it's probably fear. And what am I afraid of? Well, I'm afraid of something bad happening to something I care about. Okay, so now, what are the range of possibilities to manage and think about caring rather than thinking about fear or anger, right? So if we're thinking about the base, which is caring, and then on top of that comes fear, and then on top of that comes anger. Well, let's get underneath all of that stuff way down to here and start thinking about, okay, what is it that's welling up in me that I'm so attached to, that I care so much about, that, and then if we get to that, we can sometimes really alter our perspective on what our emotional response is going to be. So I think that's an important piece of the puzzle, especially in these times. It's real easy to get into a you versus us. We're okay, but we don't know about you. And especially with social distancing, it almost reinforces that kind of idea, like we're afraid of other people. It's not about being afraid of other people. The people we're distancing from are not bad people. They're not infected people. They're not. All it is about is it's the only tool we have to fight this. And so we're taking a moment out of our lives, maybe a long moment, and we're distancing ourselves from people that we aren't already exposed to, right? We have this family unit. We're already exposed. So we're trying to limit outside exposure. And the problem is if you have dinner parties, well, you have a few friends over, but what did they do the night before? What friends did they have over? And what friends did those friends have over? So it's not really good enough to, what did we hear? We want to be in groups of less than 250. And then like 2 days later, we want to be in groups less than 10. If that 10 is a bunch of people that are coming and going, that's not really serving the purpose. I posted an article a couple of days ago and it shows ping pong balls bouncing around. There's a game that is played sometimes with regard to, hi Yolanda.
Hi Yolanda.
Which is played with regard to, STD transmission and stuff. And one person in the room is designated as it, and then everybody starts, but nobody knows who it is, and then everybody starts shaking hands or writing names down, right? And then at the end, you say, who has whoever was it, who has so and so's name, and then they say I do, and you go, okay, well, who, and then you kind of know when everybody's name was written down. So after this point in time, who has the next person's name written down, right? And then what you find out is it only takes about 20 minutes for everybody in the room to have a first or second generation association with that one person. And what we're trying to do is stop those first and second generation associations. So the question is not, am I in a group of less than 10? The question is, am I having extraneous exposures to other groups of 10? And that's what we're trying to slow down. And the problem is this message is not getting out clearly at all. in places like Singapore, South Korea, they got the message out loud and clear really fast, and they have done a tremendous job of slowing things down, especially Singapore. Italy, they've done a good job, unfortunately too late. Mm-hmm. We're probably 2 weeks behind Italy in terms of what's going on, and our response has been dramatically sluggish. It's really up to us. It's up to us to make these decisions, not to panic, not to point fingers, not to blame, but to act. And the best way to act right now is clear-eyed preparation. It's not to buy 1 million masks. It's not to buy, a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. You're going to buy a bunch of masks and they're going to sit in a closet probably. What you really need to buy
when
is
healthcare workers
need them.
Need those. They need those masks.
What you really need to buy is food. You need to buy food. You need to get prepared to hunker down. You need to prepare your home. You need to designate a sick room so that if somebody does get sick, you can isolate them away from everybody else. So isolation is for the sick people. You isolate the sick person, and then you quarantine the unsick people away from the sick person. If another person gets sick, you put them into the sick room. And the idea here is that, we're just trying to slow down how rapidly the virus goes through the family. We all know that if somebody in the house has the disease, we've probably all already been exposed. Mm-hmm. But there's an issue of dose. The less virus you get as an initial dose, mm-hmm. In other words, if you're a healthcare worker and you're being coughed on all day long, you're much more likely to get a severe case than if you're an individual who got coughed on once and then realized that that person was sick and put him in another room. So the idea is to slow down the viral spread through the family and then also hopefully reduce the severity of the illness within the family. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing when we're doing this, we're saving each other's lives. If I get sick, I'm older, right? I'm in the category you might just die. Who knows? But if I can isolate myself, I might be able to save her parents, right? Might be able to save who knows who else. And that's the whole point. We're not doing this because, or we shouldn't be doing this because we're fearful and afraid and mm-hmm. contracting and worried. We should be doing it because we are brave enough to suffer the economic consequences of staying home to save our community, our family, our community, and our country. That's really the way to think about this. And I think we're not thinking about it that way. And I think it's really important to start passing that message along.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the sooner that we all comply by it and really follow those guidelines, then the sooner that this will fizzle out and we can go back to being involved with people in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And really, go through that list. Make sure you're prepared. And then once you're prepared, just enjoy this time that you're home. I mean, there's, you might as well enjoy it. So if you're at home and, you can't go out and do the normal things that you enjoy doing, it's a great time for us to just be present with either our children or maybe you live alone. Maybe it's time to spend some time with yourself, catching up on maybe a book you want to read or just watching television. Whatever you choose to do that brings you some joy, do it and enjoy it.
Or accelerating your study of Zen like I am. Mm-hmm. Something that I do a lot of things that most people find incredibly boring. That's why I've been told I'm kind of a boring guy.
Maybe you were told that once in your life and you remember it, but I don't think he's a boring guy. Anybody else agree with me?
So, I think, we're coming on every day mostly just to try to soothe nerves because we know what to do. I have a study group, functional medicine doctors, a bunch of really smart people, and they're all perseverating about which nutrient they're doing all this literature search. And I just said, this is a tempest in a teapot. The truth is 90 plus, maybe even 99% of the important things that we're going to do are prevent yourself from getting sick. How are we going to do that? Well, you're going to do all of the lifestyle things. So you're going to sleep a lot. You're going to move some. And by the way, just because we're sequestered and socially distancing, it doesn't mean you can't go outside. In fact, I would suggest, I think I said this the other day, go out on your street and make dots on the street 10 feet apart. And invite your neighbors to come out and stand on a dot with a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever your beverage of choice is, and just have some fun talking at a distance. Don't have a spitting contest though, you know? I mean, come on. But just do some things. And then nutrition, eating well, and stress management. And then social distancing we talked about. And then if you get sick, what do? Isolate. Try not to infect anyone else. Those are the 99%. That's 99%. Now, it gives us a sense of control if we can say, yeah, but if I take these vitamins, if I take this thing, if I do that. And so we're doing that because
it's not harmful. It's helpful. I mean,
right. And it gives me something to choke on almost every day.
And you know, I think one thing what people probably are wondering is, okay, especially if you have a limited budget, what are the important things that they should take? Like if you could say, take these 3 things. Besides, I think a multivitamin is good for anyone to take, a well-formulated multivitamin, but what would you recommend?
I would recommend that you take a multivitamin, fish oil, and vitamin D. Now, Dr. Weil has a piece of paper circulating. He thinks that vitamin D is a bad idea, and mostly because he thinks it reduces inflammation. But the overwhelming evidence is that vitamin D is very good for preventing viral illnesses of the upper respiratory tract. So I think making sure you're sufficient in vitamin D, you have good amounts of fish oil to manage inflammation and support your immune system, and then a multivitamin. And then, you know, try to eat fruits and vegetables.
We should frozen fruits and vegetables right now.
Right, or frozen.
If you don't want to go to the store every other day.
So we should put a recipe for the fruit sorbet. I've been making recently fruit sorbet. In fact, here's the recipe.
It's like somebody bought out all the mangoes last time I went.
Those terrible human beings.
All the frozen fruit was gone. I was like, no.
So you take some frozen fruit and you drop it in a blender. You take maybe let's say just for a small batch, a cup of fruit, a half a cup of water, and blend it. Squeeze in some lemon juice to give it a little tartness. Done.
It's really good.
If you want
to
add a little,
even a 6-year-old loves it.
Yeah, if you want to add a little bit of honey to make it a little sweeter for certain fruits, you could. Super easy, super healthy. There's nothing other than just good stuff. And what is Jane saying there?
Yolanda first said, no way, not boring at all. And then, which I agree with her. And then Jane said, I can never, so it says see more, but we are staying home, but we are finding laughter, doing practical jokes. I laughed so hard this morning.
I'll lick my finger and try to get this to come up.
Yeah, I don't know why it won't go.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I did that early. Oh, there we go.
Look at that. You
Sweet.
just gotta, wow. Jane, you get the record for the most writing here.
I laughed so hard this morning I cried. I did the rubber band on the sink sprayer. Amber was soaked. She's my 7-year-old. Spray was at eye level. That's a good one. I feel great after laughing. Yeah, and laughter is great for the immune system. It boosts it. We had a mess, but it was worth it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Sometimes you need to just make a mess and have some fun. And
this is good too. We also write 3 positive things at the end of the day. So when we close our eyes, we feel good.
Yeah.
We're also very much aware of the following the recommendations, washing our hands and such.
Trevor Noah, the late night personality, he did a little skit at home that he posted where he put oil on the floor and he was holding on to the counter in the kitchen and running in place. And the caption was, when the gym is closed. And my response was, I'll bet he was really upset when he figured out he had to clean up that mess. But, you know.
I said someone else probably maybe cleaned it up.
Maybe for him. In our house, probably it would have been one of us. But anyway, you're right. Finding ways to laugh, finding ways to have joy, creating community. And part of community can be this, part of community can be doing FaceTime with friends and relatives, but sequestered inside your home, it can also be, some kind of a game that includes everybody. So we've got a 6-year-old here, so we're playing slapjacks and we're playing Go Fish and we're doing stuff like
hiding games outside.
Hiding games, yeah, because you can still go outside, right? So we're hiding behind trees. And the dogs are one dog on either side of me. Bark, 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 bark. It's really hard to find me, but they like it. They're having fun, so we're doing it.
Jane said he was boring once.
Yeah, started when I was born. Yeah, yum is right for the. You're talking about me, right? Yum.
The sorbet.
The sorbet. Oh. I was walking down the street one time with my dog, and this lady pulls over, and she goes, "Oh, he's so beautiful." And I said, "You talking to me?" And she rolled up her window and drove off.
She didn't get the joke.
She didn't think it was funny. No. I thought she was just embarrassed. I thought it was hilarious. But anyway. So, again, there's lots of ways to find out all the terrible things, but the terrible things are happening because we aren't stepping up. It's our turn. We have to step up. Integrity is what happens when no one's looking. So, if you're sequestering except for when you decide to go out for dinner, or sequestering except for when you decide to go over to somebody's house for dinner, where's the integrity? So, and we're in Minnesota, so nobody said we have to yet. Well, now is the time. Now is the time. After people are already sick in your community, it's too late. Now is the time. So you want to do one of these?
We sure could.
Did you find one you like?
Well, there's a whole section on relaxation, so I thought that would be a good one. Trying to see.
So we're
this
looking
is out of the book.
Yeah, we're looking at the book 20-minute retreats. I thought you had found a 1-minute retreat you liked.
This is a 5-minute retreat. It's called Smooth the Forehead.
Okay. You're always talking about your forehead. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, we use those muscles a little too much, especially when we're in times of stress. So this just talks about in biofeedback training for muscle relaxation, the frontalis muscle, the forehead is often used as a focal point. It's because it's been found that these muscles of the face relax. When you relax them, the rest of your body relaxes. So depending on your circumstance, you can do this retreat either sitting or lying down. I prefer to lie down. In private or during your workday. Simply imagine that you can smooth the wrinkles out on your forehead with every exhale. Imagine your forehead becoming more and more relaxed. You can concentrate on different thoughts to enhance your relaxation. Imagine that your eyebrows let go. Your scalp eases. You can say to yourself, "My forehead is smooth as silk." You can use your fingertips to lightly stroke your forehead in a slow, smoothing manner. Notice that as you do this retreat, a general feeling of warmth and well-being arises in your entire body as you deeply relax. And I tend to do that a lot during the day. If I feel myself getting stressed, I'll actually massage my forehead and take a few deep breaths, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a good suggestion. Just concentrate. There's all kinds of bigger things you can do. You can start at your toes and squeeze your toes and relax them all the way up. But this is a quick and easy one that isn't quite so weird to do maybe at your desk when you're, trying to work at home or in front of the kids or whatever. You can even teach the kids to do it. And I think it'd be helpful. So we're going to be trying to come on pretty much every day and share a little bit more of this relaxation stuff, and just as a reminder of the social distancing piece, but you can create community. The other thing is we suggested people PM us if they were interested in doing a video conference kind of thing where we could have more interaction, with you guys, bring you on quote stage with us if you wanted to. Just, you don't have to, it would just be an option. But we could see each other better and all that kind of stuff. But nobody's PM'd us, so far it's not looking good for doing that. Maybe everybody's too concerned about the way their house looks right now because they're living in it and it's not pristine. If we turn the camera around right now, you would see that our house isn't pristine either.
Right. And you don't even have to wear pants. I mean, if
that's right, just a shirt.
You don't, it's only the waist up.
Yeah. There's a famous, I can't remember who it was. There's a famous newscaster who was in Baghdad or someplace early on, and it was hot as could be, and he was in his tie and shirt and coat and shorts, and at the end of the broadcast, the cameraman just backed up and showed the whole thing just to kind of, as a practical joke for him. But anyway, so if you want to do something like that, PM us and we'll, that way we can send out invitations. You got to have emails to be able to send people invitations to do it. Also, we're putting together a whole course on sort of the immune system from a functional medicine point of view. We're going to make that available. Normally it'd be about a $200 course that we're doing, but we're going to substantially discount it. In fact, we're going to have a code so it can just be free, so that if you want to support it, if you have the ability to support us, because we're trying to, support our families too. If you can support us, great. If you can't, we're going to have a code so you can just have it for free, because I think it's so important. All right, so any other words of wisdom?
No.
So I like to say, wisdom follows from humility. Humility comes from knowledge. Knowledge comes really from errors. To error is human. So just remember, every time we make a mistake, we're getting closer to wisdom. I seem to have a lot of opportunities for creating wisdom in my life.
I think we all do. As long as we can admit it.
Yeah.
Then that's when you can benefit from them.
Right. All right. So we will talk to you tomorrow.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Enjoy your Saturday. Think for a moment. Make sure I got the right day out there.
Yeah, Saturday. Tomorrow is Saturday. All right.
Today is Saturday.
Today's Saturday?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Sunday.
Tomorrow's Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what do I know? We'll see you
right.
later.
Bye.
Bye. If I can push the button.
It doesn't like your finger.